All right. It looks like we are live. Hi, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us today. This is Beth Lawrence, the Chief Experience Officer of Beth Lawrence Meetings and Events, and I'm here with Dan Weitzer and Alexandra. Panuhina. I'm gonna mess it up.
Great.
Who is the head of events at Parcel, and we're really, really excited to have you. Just a couple housekeeping things before we get started. As you know, this is Events of the Future. This is our third episode. If you want to see the last two episodes, look at our Reels IGTV on Instagram. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of business events and festivals. Before we do that, I want to have Alexandra introduce herself, and then we'll have Dan introduce himself as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm Alexandra. I'm currently leading events and experiences at Parcelab. It's a B2B SaaS company that enables retailers to provide better customer experiences all along the journey. And overall, I have almost 7 years of experience in B2B SaaS, creating amazing experiences that also happen to drive revenue. So my focus has always been B2B. And please forgive me if I will start steering conversation into how to drive revenue and make it all profitable.
No, we would love to definitely talk about that. Yeah. And go ahead, Dan. You can.
Awesome. I mean, everyone knows we've done this, multiple times. I'm Dan, the co-founder of BPHL. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say because I want to get into it.
Awesome. And you all know who I am, obviously. So I'll let you guys start. Alexandra, if you want to start, we go with something that can easily be done today, and then we go sort of into something that's a little bit more not as widespread available to the public, and then we go into something that may not even be like in the realm of possibility yet. we can kind of start with wherever you'd like. Start with your first.
Yeah. So I was kind of brainstorming what I'm going to talk about today. I came up with three options. So the first one I wanted to start with is probably following the overall events trends is still keep having the virtual elements even when in person will be back. So I still think that festivals that especially have done tremendous job at pivoting to virtual, like Tomorrowland, for example, they should not be dropping that. I think it's a great driver for future attendees. Like if you've never been to the physical festival, you might check out the virtual just because your friends or somebody on Twitter is talking about it and be totally immersed and say like, oh my God, if it's so cool virtually, like what's going to be in person?
Yeah.
And again, as I said, like it will just drive more attendance to the events, to the festivals when they come back in person. That's probably not something you will start doing right away tomorrow, but hopefully by the end of 2022. And since the festival is such a huge thing to pull off, like you start planning 1 year in advance. So that is already something that you can keep in mind, that when you prepare for the next year, for 2022 in person, you don't drop some of the virtual editions that might be happening in 2021 or even early next year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that Dan and I talk about all the time is that, we may be living in this fully virtual world now, but I think when you look into the future, there's going to be so many more opportunities for people to have global experiences from their living room. And I think festivals are, I think one of the events that people are going to start having demand to experience virtually first, right? I mean, when this started last year, a lot of bands and artists that I watch were doing live streams and things like that. And I think it's just going to keep amping up into next year.
Yeah.
Dan,
you're preaching to the choir. That's my video is my jam. So I think, the pandemic helped in that regard, that I always thought everything should be a hybrid. Like you should always be trying to stream stuff out. And this just made it happen. So yeah, I totally agree. Everything from now on should be hybrid. It's gotta be, you gotta be. Yeah. I mean, and especially for you, you're in the Czech Republic, correct?
Yeah.
We're able to talk right now, but if this, you know what I mean? This is the future. This is how
exactly. I know. Yeah. I've been able to attend so many events that, otherwise had to choose one out of 5 to 7 that were happening in the US that I always wanted to be a part of. But yeah, last year I could actually be a part of the online version.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
One of the things that I thought about, Dan, was, and Alexandra, was how to take a festival experience and make almost like a little bit of a physical experience in some cities around the world. So I thought about this, I called it, when I was thinking about it, the celebration station. And basically it could be like an Airstream, a converted bus, converted something like that, where it's mobile and it has its own little like pods within it, where they are separated by either plastic or glass or what have you, but everyone's sort of having a dance party at the same time. So we're all having those, almost like a Refinery 29 type experience too, where you go into the room and everyone's dancing and everyone's having that immersive experience. Yeah. I was thinking about ways that we could kind of bring that festival experience. And I was working on this with one of my clients. Was, okay, you want to have a user conference. That's awesome. And you want to do it virtually, but how cool would it be to have little pods in each major city that you serve? And then you could have people standing there ready to talk about your products and services and really bring that tangible experience, from the virtual world.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that was also one of my thoughts, that there have to appear more localized versions. Like, yes, there is Coachella, and then you bring this mini Coachella to Europe and to different countries and different cities, and it can be either a mini festival of its own sorts, or as what you're suggesting, which is great. And also that can be done even right now, pretty much, if it's moving, and like if it's like a dance party inside, even just catching a glimpse of it and making an Instagram story, that will definitely brighten the day for people. And will be a cool experience that will go viral also on social. So I think it's absolutely awesome, and something you can really implement right now.
Thank you. Yeah. Dan, what was your first one? I'm curious.
It's actually kind of based. So I usually go for so Alexandra, I usually go from like, this could be done to like middle ground to like Star Wars. Like that's usually the way that I go. So my first one is something, I think it's simple. And I think obviously people are doing this now, but I think for future festivals, connecting with people is going to be even more valued and important. And I think that, obviously there's networking and there's different ways to connect with people at every single festival, every single event. But I think people are going to start to crave new ways of doing that, and because I feel like we always do, like we do like, speed dating, or like where you're moving around, or like, here's some food and we all meet. But I think there's going to be the need to have new inventive ways to do that, where we're combining virtual things and in-person things together in some capacity. I have some ideas for BPHL, and I'm not going to give them away because we might do some, but like there's different things that I think that will be important to connect with people. People will be craving that, and it's going to be so much more important. Sorry, especially if people are working from home and then they go to a festival. I think it's just, that's very now and near future, but I think it'll be important to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I was reading about like virtual dance floors and things like that people are doing now, which could be is another way to kind of connect with people. Yeah. Alexandra, what's your second one?
Yeah, my second, and that's, I think, universal. People realized the value and importance of actual in-person connection and possibility to be with other people somewhere. So I actually expect the prices to go up. And I think that the tickets for the in-person festivals or events, they will cost more. But at the same time, if the organizers still provide this virtual experience, so it can be either lower price, or it can actually even be for free. Like setting up a live stream right now, it is a cost, especially if you have a band playing and you want to provide the good quality sound. But if you also have higher ticket prices for people to attend in person, to feel that vibe, to have that connection, then I think it's something the organizers can leverage. Mm-hmm. And I think that people are ready to pay more, because the understanding happened of how valuable that was. I remember the times when it was hard to get people, to attend some meetup or some smaller conference because it's in the evening and like you're tired after work and so on. Imagine right now, you're tired after work and you're invited to an in-person meetup. You'll be like running there. And it's for free, and there is beer and food and nice people and content, and you're like, oh my god, that's heaven on earth. So I think we reevaluated this part of our lives.
That's so good. I think too, like the working from home will benefit that as well. Like I think as more people are working from home, that, like what you're talking about, like going to have that connection, like that just amplifies it. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, well, I don't get to have one-on-one conversation with people at work, you know, in person. I'm going to go to this thing. Like it definitely makes all events technically just bigger. That's
Yeah, it's a whole new experience now when you're in person with someone. Even if I like see a friend that I haven't seen, you know, if we meet for like socially distant coffee or something, like seeing a 3D person is so different than being on the screen. And I think you're right, Alexandra. I think we all were like running around all day, you know, trying to get to this place and that place and this meeting and that meeting. And now it's like we're all sitting in the same place, meeting with as many people as we can all day long, but that real genuine human connection, I think we're all going to be running toward it. And I definitely agree that it's going to be sort of more of an expensive experience for the festivals. But I think to your point, you can also really engage people with a virtual ticket, and you can even figure out how to make your virtual tickets, how to have a VIP experience virtually too, how to have them interact with the audience, with the artists directly, even send them some merch or something like that from the festival. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Dan, what's your next one?
So my next one is it's not as, usually I go like a little bit crazy, but it's not this time. But I feel like I did make up a word. So like, I think that gamification, and I know the right word is incentivize, but incentivization, I'm going to say incentivization. I think that those are going to be big because like you think about now, you know, there's prizes you could win for, you know, there's apps that like you win a prize if you go for a run or you do this, like everything's starting to get gamified in some capacity, or like you're getting some incentive. And I know that those things are happening in festival and events, but I just think it's going to be more important to do those things, especially if everyone jumps on, like we have the event train and all of a sudden there's a million events for people to go to, then I think that's going to be the things that people want to do. Like, you know, there's scavenger hunts, there's all that stuff, but I feel like you could win this, or there's specialty if you do this, you could get this prize, whatever. I just feel like that could potentially be something that maybe not now, but in like, you know, 5 years from now, people have figured out how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's true. And I think also looking at the attendee journey with a lot of these, like, you know, video game style event platforms that we have, we're looking at the event journey through that virtual lens, but now looking at it through that hybrid and live lens is going to be even more important. And you're also going to be able to engage partners in that incentivization, right? So obviously, if you have partners or sponsors, you want your attendees to be able to be driven to or incentivized to purchase from them. So there's platforms and stuff that can do that now, but in the hybrid and live world, I'm really interested to see how it evolves.
Didn't you say it like incentivize people like events in space? The one conversation we had, didn't you say like
we did. We said like for incentive trips, like you know, we were saying that like for the top sellers of the top companies, someday there's going to be like a trip to space for them and their families or something.
I don't think that's that far away. That's not that far. They're sending people like this year. Like that's crazy. I mean, it could be 10 years away, but still, like that could happen. We could be alive for that.
I wonder how much of an incentive it
True.
Is, yeah. It's kind of a questionable. Somebody will be really happy about that, and somebody will be like, "Oh my god, like, do you really have to do that?"
Yes. You're like, I just want to go to Disney World. Is that all right? Like, I just have like a normal vacation.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the first couple we got a little bit nuts with like Dan said, like Star Wars type stuff, and like thought about, you know, how Red Bull sent that one guy to the edge of the earth, and we were just thinking about how to make that more
holograms. We talked about holograms for a little bit.
Lots of holograms. We really like holograms.
Love holograms.
So Alexandra, what's your third way that you think festivals will innovate in the future?
Yeah. So kind of one of them, my prepared one was already talked about, was how they localize versions, but I try to improvise here. And one of the things that I'd love to see probably, and to be honest, like full disclosure, I'm not such a festival goer, and like the only festivals I attended before were for Cuban salsa that I love, and dancing and teaching. Yes, it was amazing because like all of the artists that, you know, you've been watching videos of on YouTube and so on, they're here and they're like at the party with you as well, and you can dance with them, and that was like a huge experience, especially once you were starting out. So I think that is something that all of the other festivals can take and innovate with in future. All of the stars and all of the artists are usually behind, they're as if here on the stage, but they are behind this glass wall. You never get the access to them. But again, something we learned last year when like John Legend would be streaming on Instagram and actually interacting in the comments and talking, and that was like, people went crazy, right? Everybody was like, "Oh my God, yes!" So we can actually see these people in real life. Maybe integrating this elements of interaction, adding a little bit more of it apart from the stars coming out on the stage and walking off it, right, as the performance is over, and then you kind of have all of the festival goers and attendees having their experience. Like, yes, they interact with each other, but stars are like the entertainment part of it, but not necessarily the actual participants. And I also think, maybe I don't think that's far ahead. Like, I had to free my imagination more for that. But I think this, like, the artists will be more open to that, because as people who leave from the energy of the crowd, I can't imagine how they are surviving right now and how hard that must be. Sure. And I think they are quite excited to be back out there and to give even more of their own energy and inspiration to people. Absolutely. So, like Cameo as well. Like, it's
Cameo.
Nice, when the star addresses your audience or something like that, or says happy birthday. So that's, I see that more in future, but real.
I love that. Almost having like an interactive conversation with them. I also thought of, while you were talking, I thought of, I love Dave Matthews Band. It's one of my favorite bands. I've been to like 20 something of their concerts. And one of the biggest things is always obviously what their set list is going to be, because they have such a huge list to choose from. But I was thinking it would be really cool as an attendee to be able to like crowdsource or, gamify, or be able to vote, for example, on like what the encore tracks would be for the evening, or like submit those things to the band. Obviously, some bands I think that's going to not be okay with, like a DJ that's like, no, I have my set list, like we're going to do this. But I think with some newer bands, especially bands that are more interactive with their fans, like you said, on Instagram, I think they might be able to do it on their feet and be able to do something like that. So that was something I thought of just kind of from your suggestion.
That'd be so awesome. Alexandra, from a business perspective, do you think that, like, how do you think businesses will interact with those kind of customers at events and stuff like that? Like, I'm interested to see what your thought is in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think like brand activations have always been a huge part for the festivals, especially if you look at the larger ones. That definitely stays, and I think the options to enable all of this amazing experiences with like all these VIP type experiences, that would be the type of, let's say, sponsorship that brands will be open for, and they would like to enable that when it falls, because they know specifically who they target, right? And they know who will be the major magnet for them. And if they can make it happen, I think they will become a co-star basically on that stage. Like if you target the athletes, right, and if you bring this specific people in, then you hit nail on the head. Right, it's not just something just your logo on the banner, but it's very specific. So it used to be the part before as well, but it was a kind of what huge brands did, and they did it at huge festivals. It was extremely expensive. It was like sponsoring Super Bowl ad pretty much. So I think that we'll actually get more of it as all of the brands are thinking more of how to turn it into experience, and and then already work with this target audience. So maybe this more localized versions of the festivals will actually also enable smaller brands to be involved as well.
Oh, nice. No, definitely, I agree.
Yeah, I was thinking also like of ways, like you said, the smaller brands too, like thinking about how we're all sort of trying to buy local or support our local small businesses, and how to get them engaged in those large events like that. And maybe it's like something like what Philly did, Philadelphia. I think it was Rec Philly. I can't recall exactly who did it, but had sort of a Philly pod at South by Southwest, where it was a bunch of Philly brands and thought leaders and innovators that came together and kind of had a Philly house at South by Southwest. I think something like that would be really cool. And that gives a chance for smaller brands who may not be able to afford the Super Bowl ad to come together and really create something really awesome in and of themselves without, that large budget.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
What about you, Dan, from a music perspective, like from a musician's perspective? What do you think? What do you want to see? Is there anything that you're like kind of yearning for when this all is over?
I just want to see a show.
I was going to say, being back out there.
I just want to go to a show. Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning it's just going to be like we want the normals. Like we just want to go to a show. Like, and I think things will grow as other events are. But I think in the beginning for music specifically, I think it'll just kind of be like, let's go to a show. Like, let's just see it. I just want to see it as it was before and just be normal, like feel normal again. But yeah, that's how I think it'll be. Like, just, I don't know how the future will be with bands and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of different revenue streams they've figured out now, but, yeah, I just want to see a show. Like that's all I want to see a show.
Yeah, just be in person again.
I want to be there. I just want to feel it. Like that's all I want. That's all I want.
I feel like all the concerts that I left early and all the festivals that I left early, I'm like, why? I'm never doing that again. Why? Who skips the encore?
My third thought is kind of like thinking about businesses and branding and all that stuff. But I think in the future, not close, but I think in the far future, the in-person event planner will have to think of the in-person space that you see with your physical eyes that are there, but also a virtual digital space in that same space. So what I mean by that is like Google tried to do this, but it failed. The Google Glass was like that kind of transition. Like you had two different worlds you were seeing. I think future events, it'll be that. Like I think people either have the glasses that have that, or it'll be I know they're developing a contact lens now, but I think it would be smart. And I think we kind of talked about this with like augmented reality, Beth, before. Like it kind of is the two different spaces, but you have like, your physical phone to show. But I do think that far in the future, maybe 15, 20 years from now, as an event planner, you'll be like, all right, this is what it physically looks like. But then when you see this other kind of space, there's other branding opportunities, there's other experiences, there's other things that are happening on stage that maybe only people with this specific glasses can see. And I think I mean, honestly, every time we talk about this, I just get scared for the future. And I mean, scared in the sense of like, there's so much work. Like event planning is so much work, but now we have the hybrid model. You know what I mean? You got to think about production and cameras and all that stuff. And then I think about like the things that we say with, holograms and this glasses and stuff like that. And we're like space. And you're like, it's just going to be even harder to be an event planner because you're going to have so many different layers to the world that you're going to have to think about in your attendees experience. But yeah, that's what I think. I think that will be a big player in the future.
And do you think that'll cause event planners to specialize, to say like, so for me, the virtual and hybrid is like something that I'm really loving and something that I think can grow. Like we've talked about with like, to me, I love going to a physical event and saying like, look, let's grow your global presence with this virtual ticket. So do you think there's going to be specializations as far as like, there sort of is now in the event planning world, but do you think there's going to be people that say like, I do just the virtual part or just the, the hybrid part of the event and I do just the live, or do you think it has to be that same person that has all the skill sets?
I would love to know what Alexandra thinks about this.
Yeah, I would love to hear from both.
I think that there will be, I think an event planner will be, it's going to have to be a team. Like, I mean, it always is a team, but I think it's going to be like that one person that has the vision of like the knowledge of all these things, but not like super in depth. And then it's going to break out to there's that person that's in spirit in person, there's the virtual, and then there's whatever other layer there is. I think you're going to have that kind of like team structure because there's no way you'll be able to do all of those things at a high level and you're going to forget things. Like, I think it's going to have to be, your brain can't, break all those things out and do it at a high level. In my opinion, I think you need a team for everything. I'm all big about teams, but I think that there will be greater specializations in those pieces. That's what I think. I don't know what Alexandra thinks.
Yeah, I think just like with other areas, like if you look at the structure of the marketing team, for example, like you have the generalists who, let's say, become eventually director or VP of marketing, and even CMO. Like CMO has to understand it all, like how it works. But then you have the specialists and experts in the specific area who are as valuable. And even some organizations, they have a structure that goes in parallel and you just choose your path if you want to be more of a manager and generalist, or if you want to be a specialist and you want to go really in depth in some areas. The same I see for the event teams. Right now, based like on what's out there on the market, in particular for B2B, but also in B2C space, you kind of have to be both. You need to know everything in person and virtual and able to manage it by yourself. But the deeper we go, then I think the more we will be able to specialize. And once the in-person events will be back, anyways, there will be a split. Somebody on the team would rather manage, in person and travel a lot, but somebody who is maybe not that open to travel and is really excited about tech and like geeking out on all of these broadcasting stuff will manage virtual. And together, there will be a team lead director who will kind of envision how all these parts start to tie together.
Yeah, almost like a creative director type role. And then, because now event planners do that a lot, right? We have our production partners that, help with staging and lighting and tech and all of those kinds of things. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it all shakes out in the next couple of years. Just obviously, a lot of people know this, but Alexandra, I graduated from college in 2009, which was like a terrible time to graduate. So this is the second time that people have said like events are going away, and in just the short time I've been doing this. But I've been really just proud and excited about everything that's happening last year. Like every day I get a message, and I'm sure both of you do too, with a new event platform, a new event add-on, a new thing that you can offer to your guests. And there's so many things that are coming out. It's just going to be figuring out what sticks in the long run and what our attendees actually like to do, right? Because we can predict like, oh, our attendees are going to love that software that it's like Sims and you have to create your own self, but not everyone maybe wants to do that or has the time to do that or understand. So I'm excited to see what platforms, Alexandra, just real quickly, what platforms have you been using that you really have loved in the past year plus?
Well, I think it really depends what you use it for. And then you either love or hate it. So there is no one that fits all of your needs. Yep. So sometimes Zoom is great. Sometimes it's awful. Sometimes Hopin provides the best experience, but if you have only 100 people, it feels lonely. Bizzabo is really good and I like it, but at the same time, when it comes to certain parts of interactivity, maybe it's not the best just because of some functionality. So, and then there are multiple networking style platforms, Wonder, Rolling Video, that are pretty innovative, I would say, but they may be not very scalable. So you won't push 1,000 people in there. Really hard to say, what is the best platform out there. I think it depends on your use case. And that's why you really have to stay on top of things and kind of what's out there, what's being offered, what are the limitations, just so that when you have the specific event concept, at once which platform would be the best fit.
Yeah, definitely. And also the feedback from speakers and attendees, right? If you use a platform and they say like, that was terrible, then you know that might not be the best for that audience.
Yeah. I think
go ahead.
In addition to what you said before, Beth, obviously events have virtual events have gone up, but in person is dead. But I do think that the event industry is going to be bigger than it was before, because I think people are going to crave that so much, and businesses are going to be like, oh, we're going to have to do this and figure out different ways. I think it will explode even more after this is done. I think, at least. I could be totally crazy and wrong, but I really do think it'll be bigger than before. People are going to crave that experience. They're going to want it.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with you. And I think that's why we all still do what we do, right? Because we have that optimism. So we have just a minute left, but if there's any final words, I'd love to hear from both of you and, wrap it up. I guess give everybody something to be hopeful about with our final words.
I would say that, just like you mentioned, everybody is looking forward for in-person to be back, and everybody will be craving the experiences. But at the same time, I think what's important is not to just sit and hope and wait for these better times. Right now, there is a lot of great stuff happening as well. So let's not see it all in kind of dark light, even though it might be hard, and kind of I totally understand how hard it can be on some people. But even on the events industry, there are so many jobs coming back. There are kind of job ads and people reaching out pretty much every day, compared to past year, like May or June, where it was completely silent. it's just 6 months. And if you think of the full duration kind of a person's life, 6 months is not that long. We can wait.
Yeah.
We can wait and use the time to upgrade our skills, to become better in something, to research and evolve. So that's the kind of what I think everybody should be doing, even though sometimes it's hard to find the positive sides of things. But unless we do it, then it will be even harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Dan, any last words?
I don't think I could beat that. Like,
No.
there's nothing I can say that will be better than that.
Yeah.
But no, I do think that use this time to think about the future and build off of that. You know what I mean? Like Alexandra said, you know, learn and grow and be prepared for what's going to come. And I think, you know, use this ability to kind of think creative. Constraints are, you know, we've talked about this before. Constraints can be a good thing. Like constraints can help you think outside the box. And they're really, you know, technically constraints are really important. And I don't ever try to look at a constraint as a negative thing. I try to think like, all right, well, how can I break this? Like, how can I beat this? And I think that's how, you know, people can kind of change their mindset and think that way. And it'll help you create new things, whether it's an event or an idea or a business or a marketing idea, whatever it is. I think that view it as an obstacle that you can learn from and maybe come up with something you would never have thought of before. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. The status quo is just there to be challenged. So exactly. I think we're just going to see more continuing challenging of the status quo. And I think we're all going to be better as people, as business people, as innovators because of it. Well, thank you so much, Alexandra. This was awesome. I'm really glad that you joined us today. And thank you, Dan, for connecting us. And thank you to everyone watching. We really appreciate it. If you have any suggestions for festivals and how you think they're going to evolve in the future, we'd love to hear them. Tune in next month for our next episode. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Have a good day.